Hi, I'm Stuart. Welcome to my YouTube channel, or welcome back. Thanks for viewing my video. In this video, I give my review of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. This is a classic fiction novel which was published in 1937. It takes place over a few days. It starts at a pond. The two main characters are George and Lenny. They arrive at the pond to stay overnight. They are itinerant workers. They have a farm that they're going to work for a few weeks. George is a smallish guy. Lenny is a big, strong guy. George looks out for Lenny. Lenny has low intelligence, and his memory is a little sketchy. Sometimes he remembers things well, sometimes he forgets them pretty much right after he hears them. George does his best to cover up for Lenny when Lenny does something that others find unacceptable. George sometimes laments that he has to be responsible for Lenny. Something happened in the last town they were in, and they had to leave very quickly. The next day they go to the farm to start working there. I don't want to say any more because this is a novella. You can see how small it is. It is 103 pages long. Steinbeck's language is beautiful. I really felt like I was at the locations he described, especially how he described the pond. It's very vivid. You can really picture it to a great amount of depth. I felt like I was at the locations he described. I really liked the plot. The problem was that I really didn't like the characters. The justification that George had for objectionable things that Lenny did was that Lenny didn't really understand what he was doing. He meant well. And I didn't feel that it justified some of the things he did. And I think the justification was just as much for George as it was for others to convince himself that Lenny wasn't responsible for the things he did. Despite Lenny having low intelligence, I don't think that necessarily justifies objectively bad actions. There was racism in this book. The N-word was used a lot. There was misogyny. There were murders. Pets were killed. I liked the book, but I didn't love the book. I think part of the problem was the book came out in 1937, and I'm reading it in 2026, but I can't help how I feel about a book and the things I like or dislike because I'm reading it in 2026. I recommend this book to anyone who wants to read a good classic fiction novel with beautiful language and a good plot. If any of the concerns are a problem for you, you may not want to read the book. I rated it 3.5 stars. I would say, though, that if you at all want to read the book, you should. It's only 103 pages long. And as I said, I did like it, just didn't love it. And I did love his Grapes of Wrath, so. I will say, too, that I read this book as part of the I'm with the Band Book Club, the Fable Book Club, modeled by MJ, reading this life at M-J on here. And looking at the other reviews the people on there had, they had more sympathy with the characters than I did. So I think my view was more an outlier, but it is what it is. Next, I want to talk about this book as a banned book. I intended to do this on any book I read that was banned or challenged, but I forgot about it, although I think the only other book I read this year that was banned and/or challenged was Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler, so I only missed doing it one time. But I am going to do it here. Put it at the end of the video because I know not everybody wants to see that, but since I read this specifically for a banned book club, it is especially incumbent upon me, I feel, to talk about that. So to get the information on whether or not a book is banned and or challenged, I go to the PEN America website. The data for 2024-2025 shows that Of Mice and Men was banned in Monroe County Schools of Tennessee on February 2025. The data from the 2023-2024 school year shows that Of Mice and Men was banned pending investigation in Spencer Community School District in Iowa in June 2024. And the administration initiated the action. The 2022 to 2023 data does not list Of Mice and Men as being banned or challenged anymore. The 2021-2022 data shows Of Mice and Men as banned in libraries in Indian River County Schools in Florida. Then I did a search of why Of Mice and Men is banned, and this is what Copilot returned. Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck has been challenged and banned in schools and libraries for decades, despite its enduring place in many curricula. The reason for these bans are rooted in the book's raw portrayal of social issues, language, and themes that some find uncomfortable or unsuitable for certain readers. One, offensive language and profanity. The novel contains strong language, racial slurs, and depictions of violence that reflect the harsh realities of the Great Depression. Some parents and educators object to this language, even though Steinbeck's intent is to portray the era's social conditions honestly. 2. Depictions of violence and difficult themes. The story includes scenes of animal cruelty, human violence, and a bleak ending. Critics argue these elements are morbid or depressing and may be too intense for younger readers. Religious language. Steinbeck's use of the word God and references to Jesus have drawn objections from some groups, including religious organizations who see it as blasphemous or disrespectful. Disability representation. Lenny, the mentally disabled character, has been the subject of debate. Some critics argue the book contains stereotypes, while others see him as one of the few early literary portrayals of disability with complexity and compassion. Social and political themes. The novel addresses poverty, racism, ableism, and the American dream. These themes have been seen as controversial in some educational contexts, with some viewing them as too critical or negative for students. Why it matters. Supporters of keeping the book argue that its honesty about human struggles and societal failures is essential for teaching empathy, critical thinking, and understanding inequality. Opponents often cite the discomfort it causes and the belief it should be removed to protect students. In short, Of Mice and Men is banned not because it's dangerous, but because it refuses to sanitize the truth, and the truth is often uncomfortable. And basically that closing statement is why I think people should be able to read it. I'm not sure at what level, but certainly high school students would be able to read it. People should see how things actually were, not get them sanitized, not try to just ignore the realities of the past. So, personally, I think high school students certainly should be able to read this book. I would be interested in knowing if you read of Mice and Men, or if you think it might be something you'd like to read. If you'd like to let me know, please add a comment. If you can't think of anything else you'd like to comment, please add a farmer emoji or an emoji of your choice. I hope you're having a wonderful reading week. I hope you're having a wonderful week in general. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, please subscribe. Please hit the bell to get notified when I upload future videos.